and here is my sweet cream or sweet corn casserole. Here we go, my chicken and rice with almond. I got 14 little circles out of this. Oh my gosh, that's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And here we are. I didn't think it was gonna pop up that easily, but you can use a smaller bowl. That so good and yummy. Oh my gosh, I gotta get to chopping those onions. And you know what I forgot on my plate? A piece of sausage. Putting this on top. And oh my gosh, these are delicious. Hot, delicious. Isn't that cute? And there, that's the finished one. I wish I had videotaped in there. Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make a cherry pie from scratch. So I'm going to go over all the ingredients that you will need, and as I go along I will tell you what the amounts will be, and of course I will put the whole recipe in the description below. So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need some all-purpose flour. So just make sure you have some all-purpose flour, and you'll need some cornstarch. So get yourself some of that. This is just an inexpensive little box. It was 89 cents for just a little box. Could cost you $1 something. It's not expensive. You're going to need some salt, just some regular table salt or kosher salt if you prefer to use that. You need some granulated sugar, so some white sugar, almond extract. This is optional. You don't have to have this, but if you do, go ahead and grab that. We'll need a little bit of cold water, so I've got some water started here. We'll need some cold butter, and I've got 4 sticks of a real unsalted butter. This is unsalted. I always use unsalted because you're going to be adding salt into your ingredients, so make sure you get some of that. I've got 4 sticks. I'll probably use 2 of them, and I'll probably dig into the 3rd one, so you want to make sure you have at least 3 sticks of butter. I've got about 1.5 pounds of cherries. It's about 4 cups of cherries. These will have to be pitted and cooked, and we'll go through that. Those are the ingredients, and of course you'll need a bowl where you're going to mix your ingredients, and then of course our pie crust will have to be refrigerated, so I can either put it in a bowl with a lid or get yourself some clear saran wrap, you know, that white wrap that you can use to tightly wrap things. Of course we'll need a measuring spoon. We're going to be needing a pastry cutter, so you want to get yourself one of these. If you don't have one of these, you can use a little butter knife to cut up your butter, and then of course you use your fingers. And then of course a colander to rinse out our cherries. So that's the ingredients and the tools that you'll be needing. Of course you'll be needing a pie plate to put your whole crust and your pie to bake, and I will let you know about all of that, and then we'll let you know what temperature to get your oven in, and let's get ready to make that crust first. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to sift our flour, and you're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I've already got 1 cup in there, and I have sifted it. Oops, I didn't measure out exactly 2 cups. Let me add a little bit more to that. There we go. 2 cups of sifted flour. And we need a teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. In there. And we're just going to mix it up like that. You can use a little rubber spatula to mix it up, or fork. Whatever you have. Okay, so we need 3/4 cups of butter. So we're going to cut 3/4 cups. 8 tablespoons or a stick of butter is 1/2 cup. So then we need we need 3/4 cup of butter. Okay, so this is 1/2 cup, so then we need another quarter from here to make 3/4. Actually it's 2/3 cup of butter or shortening. I'm really sorry. Okay, so let's figure that out. What is 2/3? 2/3 is just over 1/2 cup. So that's about a little bit less than 3/4. So let's go ahead and use 1 whole of these. This is 1/2 cup of butter. And we're gonna cut this up. Oops. We're gonna cut this up into little bits like that. So just cut it up. You want your butter to be cold because we want this pie crust to be a little flaky. If we wanted it really flaky, we would add some cream cheese to it, but we're just making a basic pie crust. So cut that up. That's half a cup. Here's another half a cup. And obviously we need just a little bit less than a quarter, which would be, half a stick. So we're going to do, we're going to do 3 tablespoons. So a whole stick plus 3 tablespoons of butter. That will make 2/3, not 3/4, 2/3. And we're going to save this butter because we're going to need some for our pie filling. All right. And then this will get cut up into our flour. So you're just going to take your pastry cutter and you're going to cut into it. Now, if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can use your fingers. You break up the butter into your flour. You can just do that with your fingers. Okay? Maybe get the kids to help you. Get their hands nice and clean. And get your fingers in there. And that's why you want this nice cold butter. It'll make it all nice and flaky. And plus, it keeps it kind of from sticking in your hands when it's all covered up with the flour and such. Okay, I'm going to continue with my pastry cutter. And I'm going to want to incorporate 5 to 7 tablespoons of cold water. And that's just kind of like eyeballing it and seeing it where it's going to start forming the dough. So I'm going to start off with 4 tablespoons of cold water. I'll make sure that I get that measurement of the butter correct in the recipe when I put it down below. It's not 3/4 cup, but 2/3 cup. So forgive me on that one. I'm glad I caught myself because I would have put 3/4 cups of butter. No big deal. I could have just added a little bit more flour. This is going to make 2 pie crusts, by the way. Okay, so let's get our tablespoon measurements here. And our cold water. And I said I was going to add 4 tablespoons first. 3, 4. Be careful with the pastry cutter, don't cut your fingers. Instead, use a butter knife. Okay, I feel like I'm at a point where I no longer have to use my pastry cutter, but I'm going to use my hands. So all I'm doing is making sure I get as much as this dough off my pastry cutter. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more tablespoon of the cold water. That's 5 tablespoons all together. And I almost feel like that's going to be enough. Because it's all coming around. You might want to take your rings off for this, by the way. Look at how pretty that is. It's coming together real nice. I don't need any more water. It's nice and soft. So 5 tablespoons of cold water was sufficient. This is what my dough looks like. So that you can see it. I'm just going to roll it out a little bit on here. And I'm just going to form it into a ball. You would wrap it up with some plastic wrap and chill it in your fridge for an hour. I'm going to go ahead and put it in that same container that I had because it does have a lid. I'm just going to cover it up, put it in my lid, put it in the fridge for 1 hour, And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and start cutting up those cherries and pitting them. All right, we're here with our rinsed out cherries, and now we need to pit them. So we're gonna pull off the stem and basically just cut through them. And there's your pit right in there. Just pull that out. We're gonna continue till we get 4 cups of pitted cherries. You can get the kids to do this too. It's going to get pretty messy, so make sure you have some napkins, that you're not wearing something. You don't want to get cherry juice all over. You don't want to get stains. It's not bad. It's just, you still want to watch out for that. Make sure all the little stems and your pits go into something that, I'm putting them in a little cup here. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this till I've pitted all of these cherries to make 4 cups. And I'll be back. I have resorted to the doing it by hand. And I've almost got a cup here. So that means I've only got to do this 3 more times. Our last cherry, and that's 4 cups of pitted cherries. We're going to put them in a saucepan, and then we're just going to put this on the medium heat. We're going to cover it up, and we're going to heat these cherries up and cook them up so that a lot of the juice from the cherries has rendered out. This will take a few minutes. Just want to make sure that you lose considerable juice from the cherries and that you have a nice little amount. So this may take a few minutes, as I said, and then we'll be back. So we're going to put this on the stove and cover them up and heat them up. All right, I've got my hot cherries, which I've cooked over heat, and it took about 7 minutes. As you can see in there, it's got some juice that has rendered. And so now I'm going to pour them into well, first let's mix some sugar and some cornstarch. Okay, so we're going to take 1 to 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. So I'm going to use 1, and let's say about 1/4. There we go. And then we're going to use 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. So 1, 2, oops, it's not completely full, 3, and 4 right there. Let's mix that up, the sugar and our cornstarch. And we're going to pour this into our hot cherries. So we're just going to leave it in the saucepan because we're going to cook it a little bit more. So we didn't need to pour the cherries into that, but rather that into our cherries. So here we go, pouring it in there. And I'm going to mix it well. That's my husband in the background, just ignore that. Okay, so I'm going to mix it well, and now that it's all mixed, I'm going to return it to the stove on medium heat, and I'm going to go actually low heat, and I'm going to cook this until it gets a little bit thick. Now, if it's not thick enough, you can always add some more cornstarch, and if it's too thick, you can add a little bit of water to this, okay? So we're going to take it back to our stove, and this is going to take about another 5-7 minutes or so. We're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll be back with our thickened cherries. Okay, my cherries have been cooking for just a couple of minutes, and I went ahead and I gave it a little bit of a taste, and it reminded me that I needed to add some almond extract. Now again, this is optional. I'm saying I need it because I want to put that in there, and I'm going to put a 1/8 of a teaspoon of almond extract into my cherries that are on my stove right now cooking. All right, our cherries have been cooking. It's been about 10 minutes, 7-8 minutes or so, almost 10 minutes for these to cook, and look how thick that has gotten. It is perfect. And I'm glad that I only put 1 1/4 cup of sugar, because I think that if I had have added an extra 1/4 cup to make it 1 1/2, it would have been a little bit too sweet. So this is perfectly fine. It's nice and hot right now. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to set it aside and let it cool off while we're still waiting for our pie crust in the fridge. And we've only got about another 30 minutes or so, a little bit less, for our pie crust to be completely chilled, and we will pull it out and start making that pie. All right, we've got our pie dough that is chilled in our fridge approximately an hour. I'm going to pull it out. We're going to cut that in half. Just a little more than half, because the bottom crust is a little bit bigger than the top one. So I'm going to cut that in half. And I want to put some flour on my board here. Mix it around, because you know you got to get flour everywhere. It's not baking unless you get flour all over the place. And there we go. A little bit of flour on our rolling pin. And we're going to roll this out to about 9 inches, because we're going to put this at the bottom of our pie dish, and that's about 9 inches in diameter. So we want to make sure that goes up the sides as well. When it gets rolled up kind of thin, just turn this around like that. I'm not going to worry about making it perfectly round. I'm just going to make sure that it's big enough that it'll fit into my pie pan here. A little more flour there on the bottom, so I can turn this over. That's almost. A little bit more. I'm going to roll this thicker portions towards the thinner. That out. This is a very rustic pie crust. Now we're going to put this onto our dish. You can take it and just gently kind of roll it over your rolling pin here and just pull it up, and then just roll it back onto it, and then you just gently lift it so that it goes into your pie pan, and then just press the little corners in. And then we're going to trim all of this. Use a little sharp knife to do that. I'm just using my fingers to pull some bits off. Okay. And then put some where I feel like it needs them. So I'm not going to cut it off completely yet. So now I'm going to put this aside, and I want to roll out my other crust. And that's going to go on top. Okay. There's quite a bit of flour that I got on there. Again, roll it out so that it's big enough to cover the top of your pie, and that's about it. I've got my oven preheating at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was my little alert letting me know that my oven is now at 375. Okay. All right, what we want to do now is we want to pour our cooled cherries into our pie pan here with our crust. so pretty. And let me tell you, I've taken a few tastes of it already. It is so good. It's so much better than using canned cherry pie filling. And yes, it is extra work, but it is so much better. There's nothing wrong with using the can. I have used it many times myself. But there's something special about making a pie from scratch. Just getting that off, because I want every last bit that I can get onto my pie. Now I can make my pie all fancy and make a lattice crust on the top, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it simple and just use the crust as is. Before I do that, I want to get some butter, and I'm going to take about 1.5 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to cut it into like little bits and just dot it here and there. So don't cut it on your hand like I'm doing. That was a tablespoon and a half. You can break it off with your fingers. Okay, there we go. We've dotted our pie with some butter, and now we're going to get our other crust and put it on top. Again, you could put it on the rolling pin and then place it on top carefully and gently. Let's put it back up here. And I'm just going to trim off some of this excess. Again, I'm using my fingers because I want a really rustic looking pie crust. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch these edges together. The two edges of the two crusts. Kind of pinch them together, and as I do, I'll be removing a little bit. Just pinch them together. And now I'm just going to roll it over like so. Roll over the edges that you've pinched together. And that gives me a really, really rustic edge. Now, if you don't like it looking so rustic, you can pinch, 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 pinch as you go around. And that just helps to make sure it's all sealed. At this point, you would just cut some slits at the top to let some of that steam escape while it's baking. But I'm going to take some of this leftover pie crust, just roll it out a little bit here. And I'm going to cut out some leaf shapes. Just some like ovals, really. Like that, kind of like the shape of an eye, if you will. And I'm going to put them on my pie crust. Put some there. Another pretty you can do as many as you want, decorate it however you want. Maybe cut out some little circles, make some little cherry, put them on top. Oops, too small. So let's cut some more. Make sure you don't cover up those slits. If you do, just make some new slits. No big deal. One more. And that's it. There we go. Look at the design that I created. Okay, we don't need these little bits. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some sugar. We're going to take about a tablespoon of sugar, and then we're going to sprinkle that on top. That was about a tablespoon rather. Okay, sprinkle that on top. We're going to put this in the oven, again at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be baking for about 50 minutes. And I'm going to put them on a little tray, just in case some of that cherry decides to drizzle out of my pie or pop out of my pie, and I don't want it all over the bottom of my oven. So I'm going to put this on a little pan here, and I'm going to allow that to bake again for 50 minutes about, and then we're going to pull it out and let it cool on a rack. So let's get that in the oven, get it baking, and we'll be back when it's all nice and done. All right, here is our pie. I've taken it out of the oven and allowed it to cool on this rack for about 15 minutes. We are ready to go ahead and cut into it and take a big taste of this delicious, made from scratch cherry pie. All right, so let's cut into it. I almost don't want to cut into it because it looks so pretty. But we're cutting right into, making sure I cut that bottom crust as well. Carefully lift it up. And there we go. Look at that cherry pie. And you can see that the crust's got some nice little flakes to it on the top. Let's serve it on a plate. And let's take a taste test. The only thing that I think would make this cherry pie look any better is a dollop of, or a scoop of some vanilla ice cream right on top. Let it melt while it's still warm. Look at that. The sugar on top. It's all pretty and shiny. Let's take a taste. Nice and crispy crust, baked golden brown. The filling is still hot. It is so nice and sweet. And the little bit of sugar on the top gave it a nice little flavor to the crust so that it's not so simple, not so plain. But this is a very easy recipe, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. And I wanted to make this cherry pie because I saw these cherries on sale at my grocery store. So why not? It's summer. It is Memorial Day. 4th of July is coming up, and this would be awesome for your 4th of July barbecues. So let me know what you thought of my recipe. Please give me a big old thumbs up if you liked it, and leave some nice comments below. Give me your suggestions on your cherry pie recipes, and let me know if you want me to do some other different type of pie, and I would certainly be glad to try and do that for you. As always, please subscribe to my channel and enjoy.